if they stay the course and they go for the Bitcoin reserve, then we're talking about the U.S. government buying 1 million Bitcoin over the course of 5 years, 200,000 Bitcoin per year for 5 years, which would be 5% of the total supply, which actually would be it would be more than 5% of the liquid supply because there are millions of coins likely have been lost. So this would be a very big deal. Now, what would happen would be that it would have to be passed that way, and then the government could go buy the Bitcoin after that. So what do you think would happen if the United States government passes this? They say they're going to buy 1 million Bitcoin. Yeah. What do you think all the other governments and individuals in this world are going to do?
Imagine a world where the United States regains its position as the unrivaled financial powerhouse, driven by a bold and revolutionary move, adopting Bitcoin as a strategic reserve. Under Trump's visionary leadership, a groundbreaking proposal is on the table to acquire 1 million Bitcoin over 5 years at a rate of 200,000 annually. This isn't just a financial strategy, it's a masterstroke that could redefine global monetary policy. With Bitcoin supply permanently capped at 21 million, this move would secure over 5% of all Bitcoin ever created, and an even larger share of the liquid supply, as millions of coins are lost forever. Financial expert James Lavish highlights the seismic impact of this plan. If the U.S. government commits to buying Bitcoin, global markets would experience a shockwave of demand, sparking a massive supply crunch. The resulting surge in Bitcoin's value wouldn't just ripple through markets, it would reshape how the world perceives and values money itself. Trump's strategy isn't just about keeping up, it's about leaping ahead, positioning America as the leader in the next era of global finance. This isn't just a policy, it's a game changer. By embracing Bitcoin, Trump is charting a course for economic dominance, one that places America at the forefront of innovation and security in a digital age. Let's watch clips from James Lavish's explosive interview to gain more insight. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable notifications for additional in-depth content. Thanks for joining us again. Enjoy the video.
Now, the Trump administration has said they're going to repeal Sab 121, and they're going to through executive order. They'll issue that executive order, and once and all, it'll be repealed. And so I think that's a really big deal. That another thing that has not been a real focus of Bitcoiners, but it's a big deal because this will enable banks to start operating in this space, offering products that are not currently offered for their customers. So you could buy Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever right alongside your other holdings in your bank. You can hold it there, and they can soon start building and offering products around that, whether it's lending products, whether it's insurance products, or borrowing. There are going to be some things that they can do that they're currently not doing. That'll be easy for everyday customers to use that they currently can't. And the banks they've just been too cautious to get into it because of that one kind of not ruling, but bulletin. What's really important about this administration is that the prior administration was antagonistic to our industry. I mean, they were fighting us in every corner. You had Choke Point 2.0, you had Sab 121 that was repealed, then that was vetoed. You had Senator Warren's anti-crypto army. It was just, there was a lot of pushback and noise and friction for any of us operating in this space, and it was a very difficult time. So now this administration is the exact opposite. They're embracing it. You may have heard Trump in Davos today said that he intends to make America the leader in the crypto space. And so that's incredibly important. Something you just mentioned, it's really important, is that we're talking about getting regulation. We want regulation. We want to have an idea of exactly how we should be operating in the space. We're not asking to be unregulated. We're asking for clarity, and we're going to get that now, and we're going to get it without, forceful pushback and antagonistic behavior. What's important about Senator Lummis being involved in all of this and being put on that committee is that she's been spearheading this for over a year and a half now. And so she introduced the bill, the Bitcoin Reserve Act. And so it still needs a co-sponsor. It's very early in its drafting because of that. And there could be changes to what the current thought about it is. But with this new administration in office, there's a likelihood now that this gets done in due time. How quickly it happens, it's hard to say. There are a number of things that Trump could do, and there are a number of things that Congress could do. But it would have to go through a legislative gauntlet. And if it's going to happen the way that Senator Lummis wants it to happen, and so that would mean it would have to go to committees, it would have to be revised, it would have to be approved, and so that it would take some time to do it that way. There's another way that Trump can do it, and he could use something called the Exchange Stabilization Act to just through executive order and add Bitcoin to the balance sheet that way. Now, that would be something that would happen pretty quickly, but it would be a smaller version of the Bitcoin Reserve, right? So if they stay the course and they go for the Bitcoin Reserve, then we're talking about the U.S. government buying 1 million Bitcoin over the course of 5 years, 200,000 Bitcoin per year for 5 years, which would be 5% of the total supply, which actually would be more than 5% of the liquid supply because there are millions of coins likely have been lost. So this would be a very big deal. Now, what would happen would be that it would have to be passed that way, and then the government could go buy the Bitcoin after that. So what do you think would happen if the United States government passes this? They say they're going to buy 1 million Bitcoin. Yeah. What do you think all the other governments and individuals in this world are going to do? Yeah. Obviously, they're going to go try to front run the government and buy it before them. There are a lot of things that are tailwinds. There's some developments that have happened that are tailwinds for Bitcoin, and these are some of them we've discussed. Sab 121 repeal finally being repealed. That's a big deal. A Bitcoin Reserve Act, even bigger deal. But before that, there have been a few tailwinds that we haven't discussed. One of them is the new GAAP accounting. The new GAAP accounting, which was passed back in 2022, but it just went into effect this past December, was how you hold Bitcoin if you're a company, how you hold it on your balance sheet or in your treasury, and where you mark it at. Prior to this new GAAP accounting, you would have to hold this asset. If you bought Bitcoin and it went down, you had to hold it at the lower of your cost or the lowest price that it went to. So you could see is if you go back at Microsoft, at MicroStrategy's balance sheet, you can see how Michael Saylor had to hold this Bitcoin on his balance sheet for years because it went down to under 17,000. He had to hold it there. Anything that he bought that was at the lowest cost of lowest price that it went, and it was called an impaired asset. Now this new accounting is you can buy Bitcoin and hold it on your balance sheet at fair market value, which is normal for an asset. So it's a really big deal. And the only way you could get it off your balance sheet at an impaired value before was to sell it, and then you'd have to take the tax consequences of it. Even if it went all the way back above where you bought it, you still had to hold it at that impaired cost, so that impaired value.
The Trump administration's pro-crypto stance marks a pivotal shift, with plans to repeal Sab 121 unlocking banks' ability to integrate Bitcoin and Ethereum alongside traditional assets. James Lavish highlights the transformative impact, from enabling crypto-based lending and insurance products to fostering mainstream adoption. Key initiatives, like Senator Lummis's Bitcoin Reserve Act, propose the U.S. acquiring 1 million Bitcoin over 5 years, spurring global demand. Coupled with new GAAP accounting rules, these changes position Bitcoin as a cornerstone of future finance. Furthermore, Bitcoin is cementing its status as the foundation of tomorrow's financial world, driven by groundbreaking milestones like BlackRock's record-breaking IBIT ETFs. James Lavish spotlights Bitcoin's unstoppable march toward institutional dominance, operational ease, and its rising status as the ultimate store of value, rivaling even gold. In a world drowning in debt crises and inflation-fueled policies, Bitcoin stands tall as the ultimate shield against currency collapse. As global tensions and economic storms intensify, Bitcoin's evolution into a resilient, transformative force in finance is no longer a question, it's a reality unfolding before our eyes. Let's watch more clips from the interview.
Now you can hold it at fair market value. And that will, I think, enable some companies that have kind of been on the fence and adding Bitcoin to their treasury or their balance sheet. Now they can do it without worrying about it being held as an impaired asset. And so that's a pretty big tailwind that just went into effect. So I think we're going to see some companies pop up here that are adding it to their balance sheet. They're adding it to their treasury just quietly, slowly. And, but they're not going to be standing back waiting for that new gap accounting anymore. That's already done. So that's a really big deal. And then another big deal is obviously those ETFs from last year. They were launched, and you and I have talked about this. BlackRock's ETF, IBIT, was the record-setting launch of an ETF ever. And so it gained over $50 billion in AUM in less than a year. It was a blowout offering that it's just continued to be. It's been a great avenue for institutional investors to have access to Bitcoin where they couldn't before. And now I'm seeing institutions. I watch IBIT, I watch FBTC, I watch Bitwise, and some of these other ETFs that are the spot Bitcoin ETFs. I see them being adopted by institutions slowly but surely. They show up in those holdings now, and you can see them on Bloomberg. And so why is that? It's because it's made it so easy for them operationally where they couldn't do this before. They couldn't hold their keys. It was a fiduciary question about who is going to hold the keys, what the hierarchy is going to be. It was a personal responsibility, a fiduciary responsibility, and then where they were going to trade it, how are they going to trade it, who their trader was going to be, how they were going to settle it, where they were going to settle it, who was going to custody it. I mean, there were just a litany of problems that they had to overcome, which have all been taken care of in one fell swoop with this ETF, where they can just buy it and just like any other stock and hold it with their prime broker custodian. They know what the leverage is on it. They know what the margin is on it. It's very straightforward. So that's opened it up. That's a big avenue for it. I do have nothing against gold, though I do believe that we are seeing the beginnings of Bitcoin demonetizing gold. And will gold go to zero? Absolutely not. It will. I think it will retain that store of value in the global universe of investable assets of $900 trillion. Gold is about 18 right now, and Bitcoin is about 2. So, but I do believe that Bitcoin is going to catch up to it and be that ultimate store of value for people in the future. I mean, it's hard to really assess exactly what the probability is of an all-out war.
Yeah.
The Trump tariffs, we've been talking about this for months now. And remember, Trump likes to wield a big sword, and he uses these tariffs as threats and to get what he wants. And so I think that people should have less concern about the tariffs being terribly impactful as much as how he's going to use them to get what he wants for the United States. And so I'm not terribly worried that that's going to be incredibly disruptive to the markets. And so that's not a concern of mine. However, it's very difficult, like you said, to put a probability on geopolitical conflict or some sort of black swan. That's why they call them that. So there's always that probability. There's always that possibility. Because of the situation we're in that we just discussed with the debt, and this is not just here in the United States, it's everywhere. All sovereigns have this issue. Any sovereign that issues debt in its own currency is their debt to GDP has been growing, and they have to debase their currencies to manage it. So what does that mean? That means that they have to borrow so much to keep up with all of this spending that they have to allow for inflation. So if we do have some sort of economic shock, geopolitical or just market shock, Jeremy, I believe that you'll see a V-shaped recovery just like you did back in March and April of 2020 because the governments can't let their economies collapse. It would send them into a rapid debt spiral that they would not be able to get out of. So they would rather allow for liquidity to expand, the money supply to expand, and for there to be debasement of those currencies in order to allow for the pay down of that debt through cheaper dollars or euros or whatever it may be.
Bitcoin's explosive rise, championed by the Trump administration's pro-crypto stance, is paving the way for a financial revolution. President Trump's visionary move to establish a U.S. Bitcoin strategic reserve is a bold step toward securing national economic dominance in the digital era. With over 200,000 Bitcoin already seized and valued at $21 billion, the U.S. is positioning itself to lead a global shift, sparking a race among nations to secure their own reserves. James Lavish emphasizes the transformative potential of this strategy, highlighting how Bitcoin is breaking barriers to become more than just a digital currency. It's a powerful economic tool. Its limited supply, decentralized structure, and resistance to inflation make it the ultimate hedge against economic instability. By embracing Bitcoin, the U.S. is signaling its intent to dominate the future of global finance, establishing a new benchmark for economic resilience. The impact is clear. As nations compete to acquire Bitcoin, its scarcity and value will skyrocket, reshaping the global economy. Lavish and Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong predict a future where Bitcoin surpasses gold's $18 trillion market cap, calling it a defining moment for economic freedom. The stage is set, and Bitcoin is at the forefront of a new financial era. As we wrap up, the big question is, will Bitcoin redefine the global financial system or remain a complementary asset? Share your insights and predictions in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in our next video.